You know, folks, I tried to do this yesterday. Couldn't do it. One, I got all these. I got cars always showing up and making noise in the background, and of course I had my nephew show up and spend the night. And of course I got people like what's walking right in front of me, sort of being the problem. Hold on for a second. But you can see the title of what I'm going to talk about here. I've already talked about it briefly in text instead of a sonic message board, so hold on for a second. Hold on for a second. Okay. Perfect timing, isn't it? Anyway, again, you could see what it's about down there, and that's what I want to talk about here. You see, basically, folks, Countdown to Chaos is not going to be like DC's New 52. It's not going to be like that. I mean, I understand a lot of folks are kind of nervous about that, and I don't blame them. When you take a look at the new designs, you take a look at the wording of all new Sonic comic universe, you're thinking, well, what's all new about it? Well, I think when people look at all new, they need to realize that all new doesn't mean everything's going to be new. Everything's going to be so new that it's going to be like a complete reboot. No. Think about it like this. When a syndicated show or an animated show, well, not syndicated, but let's say a sitcom, primetime sitcom, or a crime drama, or mystery drama, whatever, or even a Saturday morning cartoon like in the past. What is the one thing, or even today, what is the one thing they would say about an episode that was coming out, especially during the fall season? They would say it's all new. It's an all-new episode, never before seen, never before aired, and that's the vibe I get with what's going on in Sonic Comics. It's all new. It's an all-new adventure. That's all it is. It's not saying, oh, it's all new and we're going to start all over from scratch. No. It's none of that. It's none of that whatsoever. Basically what it is saying, hey, here's the same characters that just got all new looks, all new designs. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. Let's be honest, alright? When SatAM came out, and we saw Season 1, we thought it was cool. We liked the characters, we liked the designs. Season 2 came around. What did we see? We saw several characters get some redesigns, or slighted redesigns, if you will. Major overhauls, if you must. You take a look at Rhoda from the first season, then take a look at the second season. Same with Antoine. Heck, Sally went through it. Bunny sort of got tweaked. You name it. And you might say, well, Brian, season 1 did have some redesigns. Yeah, because of the pilot episode Heads or Tails. Heads or Tails basically showed the characters as as they originally were meant to be, until it came down that they had to be more updated. Because of the fact that this was going to be a different kind of Sonic show than what was seen on syndication during that time. And that's what happened. They were updated to look more like they belonged in a darker, more serious Sonic cartoon. And the thing is, folks, when you look at those sort of those redesigns from season 1 within one episode, from the pilot episode to the rest of season 1, and then mostly with season 2, not a lot of people really complained. Well, of course, there wasn't much access to internet at that time to do much complaining of. But still, no one really complained. And if they did, it wasn't heard of until the internet became more prominent years later. The point is, folks, just because the characters are getting new looks doesn't mean they're going to completely not know each other. I mean, it's like Ian Flynn said. Sally's still going to be Sally. Sally's still going to be Sally. Bunny's still going to be Bunny. Rhoda's still going to be Rhoda. Antoine's still going to be Antoine. Nothing's going to really change except for the looks. Now, why would people worry about it being sort of like DC's New 52? Well, for those that don't know about this, Flashpoint Paradox, which the movie adaptation recently came out on video, on DVD and Blu-ray, that basically led into what New 52 would be. Basically what Flash did, as everybody knows if you haven't read it, he goes back in time basically to try to save his mom or spend time with his mom one last time or something, and that by doing what he's done, going back and forth in time, he alters the universe. He basically alters things to the point that, it doesn't make sense about the scene in War where he meets up with Batman for the first time and says, hey, it's an honor and everything. And at the end of Flashpoint Paradox, it's like, well, wait a minute. How does he know Batman at the end of this movie, but yet he introduces himself to Batman for the first time in that one? Doesn't make sense, right? But again, that's basically what happens. It's basically a restart for them, and that's why DC's New 52 has a love-hate relationship with the fans and vice versa. It's because they don't like what... The hate part is the fact that you got a lot of longtime fans that don't like the fact that DC Comics is screwed with the continuity. They've screwed with what made the comics good. Made all the comics great. Made the DC Universe originally great. They don't like the fact that they messed with it. They screwed around with it because of the story. Due to this, they don't like the fact that things were altered. But again, that's DC. That's their way of doing things. That's their way of cleaning up messes, rebooting the universe, making things more smoother and more easier. That's their take on things. That's not Archie's. It's not Sega's. And one thing people got to realize is, in the end, this is based on a video game franchise. Okay? Sega is the only way the Sonic universe overall in the comics could be rebooted in the likes of DC's 52, is if, and this is a big if, is if Sega themselves decided we're going to reboot the entire franchise from top to bottom and we're going to start over again. That's the only way it would work. It's the only way that would happen. But because it's not happening, because we're constantly getting newer games here and there from Sega, whether it's in a joint production and release with Nintendo, or it's a multi-platform release. You know, until they come out and say, hey, we're going to reboot the entire franchise from top to bottom, you're not going to see something like similar to New 52. You're not. What you're bound to see, basically, is soft reboots. I mean, if anything, if they add in anything, the Freedom Fighters are going to look at each other and wonder why they look so different. You know, they're going to wonder, hold on for a second, they're going to wonder, why do I look like this, or why do I look like that? That's what they're going to wonder. That's what they're going to ask themselves. That's what they're going to ask themselves, quite honestly. And basically that's what it is. They're just, if any kind of indication is there, all they're going to do is ask themselves, hey, why do I look like this? Or why do I look like that? That's mainly what it's going to be. And, you know, again, you know, you may not agree with what's going on in the comics, but it doesn't mean they're going to say, hey, let's alter the characters to the point that, well, you don't recognize them. Well, they don't recognize each other. No, it's not going to be like that. Sega has not come out and said, hey, let's alter the entire DC universe. They're not going to do, I mean, not DC, but the entire Sonic universe. Let's do that. They're not going to do that, folks. That's what a lot of people worry about. They worry at the fact that, you know, that's what's happened, and it hasn't. I mean, it's like Ian Flynn said in his interview with the Sonic Stadium. In the interview he did with the Sonic Stadium. If restarting the entire fan base, I mean, if rebooting was the plan in the first place, why go so far up to 250 issues, especially with the crossover, just to start all over again? Doesn't make sense. And I know a lot of people would agree with that. A lot of people would agree. It doesn't make sense whatsoever. And you know what? It doesn't. You know, it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't, folks. Because if it made an ounce of sense, yes, they would have made the announcement they would have made the announcement right before the Worlds Collide. They would have said, Worlds Collide is going to be the last time you see Sonic. They would have said, 247 is going to be the end of the Sonic comic as you know it, and we're going to reboot after the crossovers with an all-new #1 issue. They would have done that. They would have made that announcement. But did they? No, they didn't make that announcement. They didn't make that announcement, folks. And I think that's one thing we all have to look at. We have to say to ourselves, you know, okay, they didn't make that kind of an announcement. Yeah, of course they didn't. Again, like I said, if they would have made that kind of an announcement, then yeah, it might be a little different. It might be more cause for concern. There's no doubt about that. It would have been more cause for alarm, folks, and I know a lot of people realize that. But again, if rebooting the entire comic was the real purpose, why bring out an encyclopedia? Why keep constantly bringing out archives and stuff like that? Best stuff. Why do that? You wouldn't. You wouldn't do that because you'd be like, okay, that's the past history. We don't want people to know about the past history. We want them to focus on an all new beginning, an all new history. But the thing is, that's the whole point. They could have done all that, but they didn't. They didn't go in the direction that this movie, which it's the story that it's based upon, win it. You know, this right here, folks, is what started the New 52 flux in DC. And again, Archie Comics could have easily done that. Sega could have easily done that, but they didn't. They said, no, we're not going to do that. We're just going to keep things constantly. We're just going to, basically the mindset is, hey, if we do any kinds of reboots, we're just going to do it to the point that the world's going to be altered a little bit. The characters are going to remain the same. They might get some new redesigns here and there or new updated looks, but nothing's really going to change about them personality-wise, and the continuity's still going to remain. Again, it's like, whether you want to believe Ian Flynn or not, why read 250 plus issues just to say we're going to throw it all away and start fresh? I mean, I understand a lot of fans would like it if they did start fresh. I get that. A lot of fans would be like, oh, please let it start fresh. Heck, I know there's a lot of fans that hope it would start fresh just so that those characters, and especially these two right here, could be the main focus, if not the main couple, if you know what I mean. That's why they would want a reboot. That's why people would want a restart. So they can focus more on that than what's made the comic the way it is. But it's like I said, in a very long text. And I even said it on video. The reason like I said, the reason the SatAM characters are always prominent as the main co-stars in the comics is because of the fact that they are unlimited. Unlike the game characters who do have limitations, maybe with a few exceptions, like say Worlds Collide, but most of the time have limitations, the SatAM cast does not have limitations. These characters here